Okay, we'll get started now. Om Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Vagardhaviva Sampraktau Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau ॐ आब्रह्मलोकादालोकादालोकालोकपर्वतात् ये वसन्ति द्विजा देवास्तेभ्यो नित्यं नमाम्यहम्. Okay, so I believe according to my notes we chanted it sloka 10, but now we are doing the meaning for Kritihi, the 83rd namam. Is that correct?
think we stopped in Ishwaraha and then we have to start with Vikrami.
Oh, is it? Okay. So it's a few more namas. I thought we did, for example, like
We did up to Kritatnya. We did up to Kritatnya, Shriji.
Exactly, yeah. Because we did the Medhavi, and I'm still trying to find some good notes for Medhavi. Kritajnaha is done. Now we are doing the Kritihi.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the Namam Kritihi means the effort itself. So the human effort or the act itself is how Shankaracharya describes it. As a universal self, he is considered as being at the basis of every act. So if we think about this, all the actions that we are performing, and this is where the karma theory comes into picture, where people ask the question, okay, if there is nothing that is in my control, if Bhagavan is controlling everything, what is that I am doing, and how much should I be even putting in any effort? So he is the effort. He is the giver of the fruit of whatever effort we have done. So he is kind of looks like, in Bhagavad Gita, there is a particular sloka in the 18th chapter. It says, yantra rudhani mayaya, as if you are like, mounted on yantram called as Maya. But the right interpretation is that there is our own free will that Bhagavan gives, but every action that we are performing, we have to do it as if with the thought process of doing it as part of our what do you call the as Ishvara Arpana Buddhya, as if it's an offering to Bhagavan. That's how we do the Kriti. Therefore, every effort is also nothing but him. The next namam is 84th nama, Atmavan, centered in his own glory. And Shankaracharya provides a reference to Chandogya Upanishad on this one, which says, where does that immensity abide, my lord? It abides in its own glory. And this takes us to Vibhuti Yogam, chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan talks about my Vibhutis are present in everything around the whole universe. Sorry, I'll have to mute. Sorry. And the whole chapter 10 of Gita is dedicated to how many vibhutis. And Bhagavan talks about from everything, like, what kind of japa yajnosmi, like, there are so many references that gives when it comes to either, like, doing sadhanas, what is he, even in, like, months, there are 12 months in our lunar or solar calendar. He says, among the masas, I'm the Margashira Masam. Doesn't mean he's not the other masas. It just means, it's a sample set of that I am present in everything, whether it is tangible, intangible. I am the whole complete immensity of the universe. So it says it abides in its own glory. And how this is about the tat padartham. We are talking about Bhagavan. Now, how does this apply to our own tvam padartham, about our own self, and which is where we have quite a few references to all the Mahavakyas. We are no different than Bhagavan. So everything that we are made of is exactly Bhagavan himself. So I can be different. I can be a separate entity. outside of this universe in the whole cosmic existence called as Bhagavan himself, which is where, I think we were supposed to get one nama where I wanted to bring that reference. Maybe I'll bring it up here. Shankaracharya provides many references to and many examples. We have talked about one, I believe, last week, which is about space. The other reference is when people question, okay, we are limited human beings, right? Bhagavan is the limitless. So how is it a comparison between a limitless, boundless Bhagavan to a simple me who is just a Jivatma, whereas he is the Paramatma? So where is there is disparity, but where is the union and connection? How do you make that merger? So Shankaracharya talks about jewelry, and there are many examples that he provides, but jewelry is a good one that we can very closely relate to. So he says if there is a bangle, there is a chain, there is a ring, and there is a bracelet. So you can easily independently identify these as bangle, chain, or bracelet or ring. But what is it made of? You remove? They're all made of gold, but if you remove gold out of it, none of these exist. So each of these four independent entities are dependent on only one truth, which is the Satyam, called as the gold. If gold doesn't exist, none of these can exist. So they're just an intricate part of Bhagavan, is an intricate part of who we are, and therefore we are no different. I can see myself as me and everything else that's around me as different entities, or I can see the unified vision of the cosmic Bhagavan that exists everywhere and including myself in it. I hope that was clear. So now we are moving into the next sloka, which according to my notes, we have already chanted. So in this one, we are looking at 10 namas starting from Sureshaha. So Sureshaha is the Lord of gods, Devas, or he is the Lord of munificent donors. So in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, there is a whole reference to how Bhagavan has appointed or takes different forms or upadhis or different names. Upadhi could actually mean a form or a appearance or a name uh, to provide the activities that are related to sustenance of the universe, the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the universe. And the various aspects could be, we need knowledge in order to do something. So in Lalita Sahasranamam, we could talk about the Ichcha, Jnana, and Kriya Shaktis. And I think the Greeks called it the messenger god and things like that. So we don't have those kind of names. We have some beautiful namas that we provide to the various gods. And he is lord of all of those, is the name Sureshaha. But when you see the full Vishnu Sahasranamam, you will understand that all of those forms and names are also just him. He is nothing different from anything else. Sharanam is the next namam. He is the refuge, as he destroys the misery of the miserable. Here we have to take Sharanam in three different contexts based on Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Adhamadhikaris. We have previously talked about that. I'll quickly recap. So, Adhamadhikari is more of deals with the business, deals with Bhagwan as a business partner. You give me this, and I'll give you this in exchange. And usually, for mostly like materialistic, earthly desires, and there is nothing wrong with it, because we all have to sustain and we all have bills to pay. That's definitely any concerns like that, we go to Bhagwan with that. But somebody who doesn't pass beyond that is where the concern is. And people have to move into the next stage of Madhyama Adhikaris, where they are doing it for the sake of pure love towards God and understanding of there is some mediocre understanding of whatever is happening, it's beyond the earthly things. So that stage is the Madhyama Adhikari stage. So at that stage, it's more about, okay, Bhagavan is taking care of the sustenance, maintenance, like, for my general maintenance. I don't have any specific requests or specific asks for him. I'm not going and asking for, okay, tomorrow I need a better job and day after tomorrow I need a better car or whatever. But, generally the things will get taken care of. There is some assurance, and we are in love with God. The third stage, the Uttama Adhikari stage, is understanding the extent of his benevolence, and knowing that, if he is so benevolent, he'll just definitely take care of me. My regular things, my whatever goes on in my life is not even a concern to me, because I know, I'm assured he'll take care of it. And whatever he does, I'll take it as a prasada buddhi. So as we were talking about previously, prasadam doesn't mean a laddu from Tirupati, or no, the payasam from Tiruvananthapuram or anything like that. It's everything that is being given to us is prasadam, and everything we are doing is an action. As an action is an arpana towards Bhagavan. So we previously also talked about, at the end of the day, offering all the actions towards Bhagavan as flowers, the same kind of context. So the Uttama Adhikari goes to the extent of not even thinking about what's me, mine, and my family. Or I want this for my son, or I want this for, like, I want to my daughter to get married, and all of those what we call as desires, the earthly desires. We're just moving past and going more cosmic thinking rather than me and myself as an individual. So there are three stages of Sharanagati as well. The next namam is Sharma, which means bliss, being in the supreme bliss. And what Shankaracharya defines it as Paramananda Rupatvat. So it's not just bliss of some sort, it is Paramanandam. So there are two terms called as para and apara. Apara is anything to do with the worldly stuff, and para is beyond this world. So the bliss, he is bliss of what kind? The kind that is beyond anything that exists in this world. And we will see more of the para kind of terms, and we'll discuss a little more when we get there. Vishwaretaha, the universal cause. Vishwasya karanatvat vishwaretaha is how Shankaracharya has described it. Retas, yeah, I'll just pause it here. There will be another namam where we will talk a little bit more about Retas. So I'll just use it as he is the cause, he is the bijam for the cause of the existence of the universe. The next namam is Prajabhavaha. It's one nama, the source of all beings. There is a difference between Prajabhavaha and when we saw Bhutakrit, that also has the same meaning. He is the source of everything. So there is a bit of a difference. So here, Shankaracharya describes it as Sarvaha Praja Yatsakashad Udbhavanti. So, based on their karma phalas, when somebody has to be born into, think about it, like, I always like joke with my husband. There are 7.2 billion people in this world. Or when I got married, there are probably like, 6 billion people or so. And I keep thinking, out of all of these people, what are those, like, the ties that we might have had that Bhagavan chose, like, from somebody from here will get married to somebody from here. Or it's not just the marriage. It's think about how many people you currently work with, your colleagues, your neighbors. Random people get just connected for a short amount of time. And because we have something to give or take based on our previous janmas and whatever those connections may be, we can never decipher all of those. And as we have previously learned, Bhagavan has done a programmed a language that just runs automatically. He doesn't sit and dispense fruits of all our actions. It just auto computes and we get results based on that, and Bhagavan has no bias towards any of us. So based on that kind of selection, so they're saying what the English translation doesn't translate as well. Sakashat udbhavanti, based on the avakasham, when it is required, where, and on multiple factual basis, he knows exactly when somebody has to take birth, and he is the creator of that. The next namam is ahaha, the day, because he is the light. Prakasha Rupatvat Ahaha is how Shankaracharya describes it. He does not destroy the people who are his devotees. This is the second meaning that they are giving. Let's just stick for the first meaning for a minute. So, we even use this term in our regional language, Ahar Nisha. Aha means day and Nisha means night. So Bhagavan is the day. And how so? Because he is the light himself, and therefore anything, the day is made up of light, otherwise it would be night. Therefore, even day is also him. And Han means destroy. So he ahaha means somebody who doesn't destroy. And who doesn't he destroy? The people who are his devotees and who are living the life of a dharmi. I don't know if anybody, like I'm assuming like most of us would have watched it. There wouldn't be anyone who didn't. So the Vaishnava Janato song that was done by Kuldeep Paiji, of Vande Guru Paramparam, they actually have amazing translation that goes with the song. The song itself is very well sung by all four of them, including Surya Gayatri. But if you read the translation, that is the life of a Vaishnava who actually calls themselves a Vaishnava. It's again a lifestyle, and the same lifestyle that we will learn in Bhagavad Gita, we will also learn in Lalita Sahasranamam. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I highly suggest to do that. So, who he doesn't destroy would be those people who are his devotees and who can call themselves his devotees, not somebody who just does, puja every day and calls themselves a Vaishnavite, but somebody who, not just a bhakta, but somebody who lives like a Vaishnava. And there are quite a few principles on who a Vaishnava is. So he doesn't destroy them. Any comments, questions, thoughts so far? I don't want to rush just without asking that question, so I'll be asking in
No, you
between.
said it's a song, Vaishnava Janato. You asked us to watch the song.
Correct. Okay,
Shriji,
go ahead.
can you please give the meaning for Suresha Sharanam one more time?
Yeah, Suresha is a different namam and Sharanam is one more, the two different namas. Suresha is the lord of all gods. And when we say gods, all the activities that are being performed in the universe to maintain and sustain the universe. For example, Prithvi is a god. All the planets are gods. All the stars are gods. So he is the lord of everything that exists in every different form, tangible, intangible, all of those. He is the lord of that. The next one is Sharanam, where we talked about the Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Adhamadhikari, and three types of Sharanam that is possible. So he is the refuge to all three kinds of bhaktas or adhikaris that humans are. He destroys the misery of the miserable, and that misery could be anything, whether it is a basic. As a child, I remember praying to God that my brother bought an amazing pen. I absolutely needed it, and he wouldn't give it to me. So I remember praying to God, if you make him give me that pen, I'll do 10 pradakshinas around your temple. That was the silliest thing in my life for a pen that actually broke in a few days after that. So as an Adamadhikari, that that would have been, and we will be seeing in Lalita Sahasranam, there is a nama that will come today. Uh, what we look for, what we want today, may be so very narrow visioned on what we are looking for, but Bhagavan has much broader vision of what's happening. And how many times would we have felt in our lives that we wanted something and that didn't happen, only to be very grateful that it didn't happen some 10, 20 years later. I'm like, oh my God, thanks, that did not happen. So he's the Sharanam, in the refuge of any kind of adhikari. Okay, so we'll
Thank you.
go to the next one. This is the 91st Nama, Samvatsaraha. The book actually says that this is also the 422nd Namam that will come, but the meaning there would be very different to what is given here. Samvatsaraha, as we all know, here we will be taking the straightforward name, the year, Vishnu in his aspect of time. So the deeper meaning that we have to understand is before the universe existed, or in the sense of the universe in its unmanifested form as a single particle, the non-existent particle, there was no space or time. So these are the two dimensions of the universe that would not have existed then. So there'll be another namam that will talk about space, but here think about the aspect of space. As soon as the Big Bang would have happened, that's when the clock started ticking. Otherwise, until then, there was nothing like that available to us. So he is here. They're taking it as the aspect of time himself is him. I actually watched a movie that I keep talking about quite a bit. So sorry, I'm digressing into a movie. I think it's Justin Timberlake. The movie is called as In Time. It's quite transformative spiritually if you look at it in a spiritual context. If you don't mind, I'll just digress for a quick minute. So everybody is born with time, some 100 years, and all they have to exchange to live their lives, to buy bread or to go to a party or anything like that, is to spend that time. So by spending, like, if I have to pay college fees, then I would have to give up some time. Like, they quote everything in, okay, that's your college fees would be 1 year, 2 days, 10 hours. And by just, shaking hands, they just transfer money from one person to the other. And how money gets stolen and things like that. Like, it's a fantastic movie. But think it from the context of that's exactly what we are doing. We could be thinking, oh, I'm just spending, a couple $100 to get something. But in order to get those couple $100, we would have spent time. And as you know, we were also studying in Bhagavad Gita yesterday. Uh, this life was given to us, this time is given to us to be able to attain the supreme Bhagavan. But what we would be using it for is quite different, because we are going in this hamster wheel that keeps rotating, and we would forget what we are here for. So aspect of time is quite important. If anybody is interested in watching movies, watch that movie. It's called In Time, and the main character is Justin Timberlake. It just gives you a different perspective of how valuable time is and what we are generally spending it towards. The next namam is Vyalaha, the elephant. Difficult to catch hold of. He also is a serpent, Vyala. Impossible to be controlled by the demons as a wild elephant, Vyala is. I don't know much about this particular namam, so I won't go deeper into it, but that's the extent of translation that's given here. The next one is Pratyayaha, consciousness. And this is the 93rd namam. So here, just, they're giving us the highest form of Bhagavan. The Shruti in Aitiriya Upanishad is saying consciousness is Prajnanam Brahma. So this is a Mahavakya Namam. Whether we are given Mahavakyas by a guru or whether we are studying Upanishads or not, Pratyayaha is a fantastic Namam that just, is the highest elevated form of Bhagavan that's possible. It's equivalent to a Mahavakya. Okay, so the last namam of this sloka, Sarva Darshanaha, the all-seeing, because he is omnipotent. The Shruti says in Taittiriya Aranyakam, having eyes on all sides, he that has a universal eye. In Narayana Suktam and Purusha Suktam, we hear the Sahasraksha, 1,000 eyes, and 1,000 Sahasra actually means 1,000 or unlimited. So he is seeing everything, and we have seen another namam before called as Sakshi, which is the witness. And why Sakshi is the witness from inside, like he is the witness. Sorry, I don't have a different word to describe it. But here, Sarva Darshana has a different, slightly different connotation, that he is looking at everything, and he's not necessarily as a witness and noting things down, but as looking at everything, because he has eyes all over the place. And why would that be? Because he is present everywhere as the awareness himself. That's why it's a beautiful combination of pratyayaha as the consciousness, right immediately followed by Sarva Darshanaha. As the awareness, he is able to see everything. Is this concept of consciousness and witness clear to everybody?
So that's why in Purusha, morning Guruji, is that why in Purusha Sudvam they say the same thing, Sahasra, Sahasrapad?
Yeah, he has 1,000, like an unlimited feet and unlimited eyes is the nam. Yeah, is the sutra there.
Thank you.
Also
Conscious. Go
sorry,
ahead, Padmaji.
there's also a concept of super consciousness. Any thoughts on that?
So the only difference is, to the extent I can think of, the consciousness, that is the awareness that is equivalently spread across the universe, and where we actually even saw the namam called Sthanuhu, because he can't move anywhere because he's spread so much that there is nowhere else for him to move around or juggle around. What is tied within our body could be called consciousness, because it's it has a boundary called as body. But everything else out here is super consciousness that exists, which is Shankaracharya's Ghatakasha and the Akasha itself, where the Akasham, if we take consciousness as an analogically or metaphorically speaking as Akasha, what's tied into a Ghatam, a pot, is Ghatakasham, and it merges with everything else. There is no difference or distinction between the space here and space there. It's just that it is bound by Ghatam.
True.
But in consciousness itself, there cannot be levels of consciousness. And there is only one consciousness that can exist. Because my consciousness cannot be different than your. So think about it as awareness. I'm, in Jagrat state, I'm actually seeing and feeling everything. I'm aware of things. My awareness cannot be different than your awareness, right?
Thank you.
What my Guruji would have told us as an example on understanding the concept of awareness and how it's everywhere. He would have given us the example of electricity, saying electrons are everywhere. Electricity in general is everywhere, but when you put it through a particular wire and have a switch as a control, and you pass it on to a fridge, there is cooling effect in that fridge. But if you pass it on into a light, then the bulb will glow. But there are some aspects of what a light means or what a fridge means. What comes out of as an activity from those two entities is different, but what generates that action is exactly the same. It cannot be different. Does that help, Padmaji?
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move
Sorry,
into.
Guruji.
Go ahead,
I
Amma.
don't know if this is a silly question. So when we are sleeping, in what state we are like?
So there are 4 states according to Mandukya Upanishad. One is the Jagrat, second is a Swapna, and there is a Sushupti, and then there is a Turiya state. In Sri Vidya, we also talk about Turiya Titam, which is the 5th state. So there is, the way it is explained is, In your Jagrat state, we are using our body, mind, senses, and everything is working. And the awareness is what is causing all of these activities to happen, and that I am aware of all the activities that are happening. So when we go to bed, it's almost like, taking off a pair of glasses and putting it aside. We put aside our body goes to relaxation, and the mind may still be working in a dream state. And mind has influence on the body, but the body does not know. So there is like, awareness only to the mind, but not to the body. And the example given is like, if somebody dreams that he's being chased by a tiger. So there is adrenaline rush that happens in the body starts sweating, and suddenly when the awareness comes into the body wakes up and realizes, oh, that was a dream. My mind was working, and it creates those impacts on the body, but the body was not aware of it. The body itself is not running in the sense of not aware of it. Body is not running, but still, we sweat. So that is the swapna sthiti where mind is working. And the third state is the sushupti, where both mind and body both go to rest. Still, there is awareness in the body. That's why actually they say when you go to deep sleep state is how it is described. When we wake up, we say, "Oh, I had a fantastic sleep. I did not know what was happening." And my Gaudapada Acharya actually has written Gaudapada Karika on Mandukya Upanishad, which is phenomenal. Extremely scientific paper. That's how I would describe it. Each and every verse just takes so long for us to even understand and comprehend and contemplate. Where he actually describes it as, when you wake up, how did you know you had a very good sleep, that you did not even hear a thing or you did not feel a thing, you just went to deep sleep? What is making you say that you had such a deep sleep? That is your awareness. And the Turiya state is that awareness state. Did I make sense?
Yeah, Guruji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we'll chant the 11th sloka. I'm watching the time as well.
Guruji, before you move, good morning. Before you move to the 11th one, can you just go through with that, this one when you explained it? That's fine, but just repeat it. That's all the sloka before we move
The
to the 11th
sloka.
one.
Yeah. Do you want
Yeah.
to just me to chant it, or do you want me to just
Yeah,
break
just
it
chant
in
it. Just chant it. Yeah, just chant it.
10th sloka, right?
Yes.
Okay. Suresha Sharanam Sharma Vishwareta Praja Bhavah Ahas Samvatsaro Vyalaf Pratyaya Sarvadarshanaha.
Thank you, Guruji, because that Samvatsara, when you were saying now, because when you were explaining it was Samvatsara, that's why I just started.
No
Thank you.
worries at all. Okay, now we'll look at sloka 11. So here, Aja is the first namam. Aja is the unborn, we'll look at the namam, but basically somebody who doesn't have a birth. Sarveshwara is the second nama. Siddha, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'll just go from starting again. Aja, Sarveshwaraha, Siddhaha, Siddhi, Sarvadi, Achyutaha, Vrishakapi, Ameyatma, Sarvayoga Vinisritaha. That is one long namam. So there are 9 namas in this sloka. Did everybody catch that?
Guruji, second line, please. I missed something there.
Okay. Vrishakapi,
Yeah.
Ameyatma, Sarvayoga Vinisritaha. There are 3 namas in that line.
Yeah. Thank you, Guruji.
So, few things to note in terms of chanting nuances. So we'll see. Sarveshwaraha had a visarga, and in your books you may not see it, but you will see it as an extra sa under the siddha. That is because of the visarga rule. So there will be an emphasis s sibilant. So all the sibilants, there is only vrisha, which is the third sibilant. Sure, the second sibilant. Sarveswara Siddha. And again, there is a Visarga followed by Siddhi. So it will also be the exact same emphatic S. So almost 2 S's. So it will be Ajas Sarveshwara Siddha Siddhis Sarvadirachyutah. So three namas that are starting with S follow previously, preceded by a visarga. So there will be quite a few strong emphatic sas in that sloka. Achyutaha, it's important to actually use the word achyutaha. So, but in the sloka, when we combine it, it will become rachyutaha because of the visarga rule. So, sarvadirachyutaha, we should not roll ra there, otherwise it will become a very, negative meaning. So, achyutaha with the ending visarga. So, we have to pronounce that visarga very clearly. Then vrishakapi rameyatma sarvayoga vinishrutaha. Okay. Who would like to chant this one? I'll just go full sloka once and then we'll break it into 4 quartlets and chant, and then we'll do one full time again.
I can do it, Guruji.
Awesome, Bhavaniji. So I'll do the full sloka once. अजः सर्वेश्वरः सिद्धः सिद्धिः सर्वादिरच्युतः वृषाकपिरमेयात्मा सर्वयोगविनिसृतः. So that'll have got some. Yeah, we'll do the quarter for anybody else who might not have got it, and then we'll do the full sloka if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Ajas
Just
Sarveshwara Siddha
Sarveshwara Siddha
Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah
Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah
Vrishakapirameyaatma
Vrishakapirameyaatma
Sarvayogavinisritah.
Sarvayogavinisrutah.
We'll do it one more time, the same format. Ajas Sarveshwara Siddha
Ajas Sarveshwara Siddha
Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah
Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah
Vrishakapirameyaatma
Vrishakapirameyaatma
Sarvayogavinisritah.
Sarvayogavinisrutah.
So we'll do the full sloka now. Ajas Sarveshwara Siddha Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah Vrishakapirameyaatma Sarvayogavinisritah.
Ajas Sarveshwara Siddha Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah Vrishakapirameyaatma Sarvayogavinisrutah.
Awesome. We'll do it one more time. And just, I forgot to mention that when we were doing the breakdown, two different quartlets, we had a Siddha. We only did it till Siddha and we ignored the Visarga. Now we have to put the Visarga as an emphasis to the following, the succeeding C. So it'll have to be double C there. Ajas Sarveswara Siddha Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah Vrishakapirameyaatma Sarva Yoga Vinisritah.
Ajas Sarveshwara Siddha Siddhi Sarvadirachyutah Vrishakapirameyaatma Sarvayogavinisrutah.
Awesome. Very well done. I hope that's clear for everybody. So now we'll move into understanding the namas, the meanings of the individual namas. So Ajaha, the unborn, and this namam is going to come apparently as the 204th namam as well as in 521st namam. So it's appearing 3 times. So the Shruti in Rig Vedam says, he was neither born nor will he be born. And the Mahabharata says in Shanti Parvam, I was not born, nor am I born, nor will I have a future birth. I am the soul, Kshetrajna, in all beings. Hence, I am called the unborn. So there is a whole chapter, Kshetrajna Yogam, which is the 13th chapter. So we will learn more about Kshetrajna. And we have also previously seen Purushaha. There are various namas that actually say Bhagavan lives in us. So this body is nothing but Bhagavan's abode himself itself. So, but somebody who is unborn, Bhagavan can only manifest and unmanifest, but he doesn't take birth. And we've recently also discussed the avatara and the purpose of an avatara. What's the difference between an avatara, shariram, and the regular shariram, jiva shariram, etc. So if you want to just go back in the forum a little bit, you will find the reference to that. It's a beautiful, nice understanding of what an avatara means. So it doesn't we shouldn't take it in the context of, oh, Krishna was born or Rama was born, but he is unborn because he is the unmanifested, and he can only manifest unmanifest and take different forms and shapes through the Shakti and Maya. The consciousness itself will not change. That is a standard, that's just a substratum. There is no change that is occurring to consciousness, but only formats that change are the energy and matter combinations that are ever changing. But he's neither born nor will ever change. I'm actually forgetting the exact names. I don't think I will recollect it when I'm saying this. But there are 5 aspects of, and if Shaji Mahoday is on the line, he may remind us. So there are 5 aspects of change. We say the birth, the growth, the death, but there are 2 more aspects to it. I'll pull that up. But he doesn't have those changes. So he is neither being born, or either he is changing, or is he growing, or is he going to destruct himself. So there will be only these 2 aspects of manifesting and unmanifesting. Sarveshwaraha is the next namam. The Lord of all is the Lord of all the lords. The Shruti in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says he is the Lord of all. So how is this nama different from, we have seen a previous nama, which is a Sureshaha. So Suraha are gods. So therefore, he is the Lord of. Ishaha means Lord. So he is the Lord of gods. And here it is Sarva Ishaha. Sarva Ishvaraha is the Lord of everything, not just the gods. The next namam is Siddhaha, the perfect, being eternally perfect. And we use this term in a regular language for, he's a siddha, for some, self-realized souls and who have attained siddhi. But those siddhis are different than the siddha we are talking about here. Here we are talking about the perfection. There is nothing else, we can pinpoint on Bhagavan's perfection. But a siddha in our other language is more about somebody who has attained the ashtasiddhis, or we've talked about that in Lalita Sahasranamam, the anima siddhi, lagima siddhi, people who can levitate themselves, and some vak siddhi, being able to influence, being able to grow smaller. Like Hanuman grew himself into like this anima siddhi, and garima siddhi is what we call it, where he expanded himself to cross the Lanka, but in Lanka he was in such a small format that nobody even could see him. So that Siddha is different than this Siddha. I want to pause here. We are at 9:44. The next one, Siddhi, I would like to take a little more time to explain than 1 minute. So if there are any questions or comments or any thoughts, anything that you have heard, it doesn't have to be that only I am talking. I would like you to bring any pieces of information that you think the whole group will get value from. Please do so. If you have read something, if you have heard something, or if you know something, please feel free to share. Or any questions, anything else that we have studied today or in the previous sessions, anything that you want to ponder about?
I think Guruji, last time you were saying about Medhavi, I think you said you'd explain more further. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's what.
yes. I'm actually looking at Brahma Sutras to bring something that is very comprehensible, comprehensive at the same time, understandable. So I am still working on the notes for that. I would like to bring something for Medhavi very soon. I did not get to finish it for this week.
Thank you so much, Guruji.
Because that actually Medhavi is an important namam to understand in the sense of how our karmas transgress from one janma to the other janma, and why things are happening around us. And sometimes I keep for me, practicality of all of this knowledge is very important, and how we can apply this in our day-to-day lives. And I keep thinking, with people who we have the most karma bandhas with, those are the people that we are associating with. And the more karma bandhas we have, the closer that person is. And those are the people we tend to not, take care of really well. And we sometimes don't get along with them. And just only to be bound by karmas more and more, and just going into the same circles over and over again. Uh, so when I think of, like, people suiciding, divorcing, and all of these things, where they're just quitting on something that is supposed to have happened, and they should have taken care of it, and they suddenly quit, and that just only makes it more and more important, and they'll be bound with the same people over and over again. So which causes more and more samsara, more and more irritation, anger, frustration. So I'm working on some papers on this kind of concepts. So I'll share more details. But Medhavi is kind of relevant to, in the context of why things happen, and how memory passes from one janma to the other.
Guruji, sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Whenever in the temple, when they are showering God, they always sing Purusha Suddham. So, what is the relationship between, only when showering they do it? So, I have always seen that, like, so what is the relationship between that and Purusha Suddham? Like,
Yeah, so we do Purusha Suktam for various reasons, but you are right. Abhishekam and Purusha Suktam are done together. And Purusha Suktam actually talks about the whole manifestation itself. And it has concepts of how humans were born, how earth was created from Bhagavan's three, like, there are four parts to Bhagavan, and only one part has manifested, the other three parts have not. But what that actually does for us is, there are three different things that we look at it as. One is, we are trying to contain the energy, as we talked about last week, contain the energy that we are invoking into the god by doing all the pujas and mantras and all the recitations that we do at the temples, all the karmas. We are binding that into the vigraham. And as we do the abhishekam, we are keeping that energy low to stay in the vigraham, using the water, using milk, using the panchamritas. We are just trying to do that. And as we chant this universal, like the cosmic energy aspect of Bhagavan, it's important, it's that relation that we try to bring to it, that it's not, for example, I could do, maybe all stotrams are like that, but Purusha Suktam comes from all four Vedas, is what I heard. It's in all the four Vedas. So that's an important aspect of why Purusha Suktam. And Narayana Suktam is also chanted. It's in the Yajurvedam. It's to contain the cosmic aspect of Bhagwan into that Vigraham. That's the knowledge that I received from a guru on why Purusha Suktam.
thank you, Guruji.
And there is the Uttara Purusha Suktam. There is like two parts to it. The second part is, like, there is an aspect of mother. Both the matter and energy formats, Heem and Shreem, come into picture at that time. And so we don't separate it. So even if we are doing Purusha Suktam, for whether we do it for Shiva or Vishnu, we also bring both the mothers into, or two forms, two aspects of mother into Purusha Suktam, and do it with her into him.
But I've not seen them doing it for Shiva, any pradosham or anything like that, Guruji. So that's why I was always wondering, like, is it only to Vishnu they have to do it, or like, kind of very strange. That's why I always used to ponder on that, like in the temple.
Yeah, most of the abhishekams we do for Shiva actually are done with Rudram. But before Rudra chanting the 11 Ekadash Rudra, or like Maharudram or Atirudram, we actually do Purusha Suktam for Shiva as well. So even before we start the Atirudram,
Okay.
Yeah. So Atirudram is like chanting Rudram 14,631 times. And even in that case, we start off with Purusha Suktam. Some people have this context of maybe just, don't read the second part of it, which is where the Narayana mantram, actually Narayana is mentioned in that part. But for us who live in the Advaita philosophy, we don't differentiate between the two forms of the same Bhagwan. So we chant the same full Purusha Suktam in both cases.
Yeah, I've seen Rudram, they do it, but not Purusha Suttam. So that's why I used to wonder. Thank you, Guruji.
Okay. Okay, so we'll conclude here in time for our Lalita Sahasranamam class. So we'll conclude with a short prayer. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु Sarvam Sriman Charanaravindharpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up in 10 minutes if you're attending Lalita Sahasranamam.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dhanyavada, Bhagini.
Thank you,
Dhanyawad.
Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sriji.
Thank you. Jai Ramanji. Thank you.
Thank you.